لَهُ دَعْوَةُ الْحَقِّ. To Him alone is the supplication of truth. And those they call upon besides Him do not respond to them with a thing, except as one who stretches his hands toward water from afar, calling it to reach his mouth. But it will not reach it. If you're thirsty, and you just extend your hand out and you say, water, come here water. Will water ever come? No. Or if your palm is open and you take some water in your hand and you try to drink like that, by the time your hand reaches the mouth, what will happen? All the water will fall. Why is it that children find it so difficult to rinse their mouth with their hands? They need a cup. Why? Because they don't know how to keep water in their hand. So if it's an open palm, the water will never reach the mouth. And the supplication of the disbelievers is not but an error. Meaning those who call upon other than Allah, their effort is like this. It's as if a person is just asking water to come to it. Will it ever come? No. Water is makhluk, right? It does not have a will of its own. It cannot help us by its own will. It's a means. It's a creation that Allah has created for our benefit. So we don't worship water. We use it. We don't get overly attached to it. We don't depend on it. We depend on who? Allah, knowing that Allah has created this water for us. So calling upon other than Allah, this is a useless effort. It doesn't bring any benefit to a person. And to Allah prostrates whoever is within the heavens and the earth, willingly or by compulsion, and their shadows as well in the mornings and the afternoons. So when you go out, it's sunny, it's hot, look at the shadow. Look at the shadow and think, my shadow is lying down for Allah. Lying down. And what am I doing? Do I also prostrate to Allah? Literally, meaning physically, the physical prostration. And also, do I humble myself before Allah? Do I also just surrender before Allah? Everything surrenders to Allah. And if my shadow is prostrating to Allah, why shouldn't I prostrate to Allah? And when we do prostrate to Allah, how is it that we should prostrate properly? On 7 bones. On 7 bones. The Prophet ﷺ said, when a person prostrates, he prostrates on 7 parts of the body. His face, and that means his forehead and nose, both should be touching the floor. His hands, so that means our palms should be touching the floor. Not that we have rested our hands in a cup form so that just the fingertips are touching and the end of the hand is touching, the wrist is touching. No, the entire hand, both the hands. And his knees, the knees should also be touching the floor. And the feet should also be touching the floor. Because sometimes either we rest our feet and lift up our knee a little bit in sujood, or we lift up our toes a little bit. No, all 7 bones, this is proper sajda. This is proper sajda. Say, who is Lord of the heavens and the earth? Say, Allah. Say, have you then taken besides Him allies, not possessing even for themselves any benefit or any harm? Say, is the blind equivalent to the seeing, or is darkness equivalent to light? Or have they attributed to Allah partners who created like His creation, so that the creation of each seemed similar to them? Say, Allah is the creator of all things, and He is the one, the prevailing. He sends down water from the sky, rain, and valleys flow according to their capacity. Each takes according to his or her capacity. Ramadan has come with its blessings. Each will only take what he wants to take. Likewise, Allah has sent the Qur'an. Each will only take as much as he is interested in. And this is general. Good, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has spread it. How much is it that we take? According to our capacity. And our capacity is according to our desire, our want. How much of this do I want? You know, it's like when you go to a store, you have a whole cart. It's up to you. You can fill it to the top, or you can come out empty. With that cart completely empty. It's up to you. So likewise, Allah sends down rain from the sky. Valleys flow according to their capacity. And the torrent carries a rising foam, meaning as the water flows, then there is foam, scum that rises to the surface of the water. You know, when a person seeks ilm, when a person thinks about amal, when a person goes out in the way of Allah, then trials come, then difficulties come. Just like when you put meat in water and you boil it, what will rise to the surface? Foam. Anything that is boiled, even rice when you're boiling it, is there any foam that comes to the surface? Right? So when we take a step towards Allah, we are tested. And in that test, what happens? We recognize our impurities. Because what happens is that in normal circumstances, those impurities are blended. But then when we're put in hot water, then what happens? The impurities are separated. Now it is up to us. Do we get rid of those impurities? Like for example, these days when you are fasting, you're tired, you're hungry, you see really what your sabr is like. You identify your impurities, you see them. Now it's up to us. Do we make an effort to get rid of them? Or do we just go back to the way we were before? Reabsorb those impurities or let them sit and putrefy and get worse. Anything, when it's boiled, when it's heated, the scum rises to the top. And from that ore, which they heat in the fire, desiring adornments and utensils, is a foam like it. Meaning even when gold, something so precious, even when that is heated, there will rise scum from it as well. So, لَا تُزَكُّوا أَنفُسَكُمْ. Don't claim to be pure. Each person has deficiencies and impurities. And when Allah puts us through trials, it is for our own good. Thus Allah presents the example of truth and falsehood. As for the foam, it vanishes, being cast off. And as for that which benefits the people, it remains on the earth. It remains on the earth. And this is also a very important lesson that we learn from this example. That foam, what happens to it? It just rises to the surface. Weightless things or garbage, it just rises to the surface. And as the water moves forward, what happens to this garbage? It gets left behind on the side. It's thrown off. Likewise, people who do not bring much value to others, they do not have stability in the earth. They cannot last very long. But people who bring value to others, who are productive, who are helpful, then what happens? وَأَمَّا مَا يَنْفَعُ النَّاسِ فَيَمْكُثُ فِي الْأَرْضِ. When you have the meat boiling in the water, and then you have the scum at the top, what do you keep? The meat or the scum? Many times it happens that you take off the foam, right? You take it off, but then do you put it back in the food? Do you eat that? No, you throw it away. It's garbage. So we need to see, where I live, the people that I am in, what am I to them? Am I valuable? Am I the gold? Am I the meat? Or am I the foam, the garbage, which has to be discarded? Thus does Allah present examples. For those who have responded to their Lord is the best reward. But those who did not respond to Him, if they had all that is in the earth entirely and the like of it with it, they would attempt to ransom themselves thereby. Those will have the worst account, and their refuge is hell, and wretched is a resting place. You see, Yusuf a.s., wasn't he beneficial wherever he was? Wherever he was. Even when he was picked up by the caravan, at least they made some money by selling him. And then when he was as a slave, he worked hard. In the prison, he's helping, he's a muhsin. And then later on, when he's got all the power that he has, still when his brothers come to him, they say, Inna naraka min al-muhsinin. So who is it that made it to the top? Who is it that remained? Yusuf a.s., right? So those who are beneficial, they are the ones who last. Their legacy remains. So we need to see, what kind of life am I living? A selfish life in which I'm just taking from others? Or am I also giving something of value? Helping the creation of Allah?